Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and today I want to do a special episode of Cull the Weak. If you haven't seen this series before, because it's been a while, I compare two factions, one old and one new, to see if the new has deprecated the old by doing a side-by-side analysis. However, that will not be happening today, not with tricksters and vampires. Believe me, vampires are no stranger to Cull the Weak. Instead, I will be doing a Cull the Weak episode about vampire tricksters, the combo. Why this combo? It's actually pretty popular due to the fact that it contains two often ignored factions. Both vampires and tricksters are among the worst factions in the game. Personally, they are two of the four factions that I'd put in the inevitable reboot expansion. They are also really hurting for partners, but on paper, vampire tricksters make some degree of sense. However, there's a single faction that, in my opinion, does almost everything vampire tricksters want to do and does it significantly better, and that faction is Hydra. Not only does Hydra kill those combos by itself, but Hydra is a better partner for both factions. First, let's talk about surface level comparisons. Both combos involve some form of self-sacrifice where the benefit is supposed to outweigh the loss. Hydra, however, can be absolutely insane and form some devastating pairings, the same of which can't be said for the other two. And it's because of some key differences: self-synergy, payoff, and focus. Because the biggest difference is that Hydra destruction has a purpose, whereas trickster destruction is meant to be painful. As much as I love Hydra the faction, not the organization, I do have one complaint that I've tried to address unsuccessfully. For an extremely evil organization, they have zero antagonism, and that's wrong. Sometimes it feels like the heroic factions of Marvel have more combined destruction than the villains. You can easily recast Hydra as samurai, as many of their cards take on a similar form, especially Yokai Attack, which feels like a Hydra card. They could also be themed as a Zap Brannigan-style faction, sending wave after wave of your own men until the killbots reach their pre-programmed kill limit. But in this case, it's to Hydra's benefit, because removing the antagonism is actually the glue that holds everything together when you look at why Hydra works, and why vampire tricksters do not. Rather than comparing cards to cards, we have to compare play to plays, and we will see that Hydra by itself holds a distinct advantage. First, we have to consider the driving force behind vampire tricksters, the heavy drinker. The heavy drinker wants to destroy one of your minions for a counter, but the problem is that you have no one to destroy. Enter the gremlin, the rare minion who wants to be destroyed, but lacks an easy way to kill it. So the heavy drinker destroys a gremlin to gain a power counter, draw a card, and force a random discard. With a vampire titan, this could be even two counters. The problem is that this just isn't efficient in terms of time or resources. It requires hitting high on the random discard to be worthwhile, which is beyond your control, and because of the loss of time, it's creating a war of attrition you won't win. It also means that you spend your turn doing that play because Heavy Drinker is an on-play ability. Consider the similar approach from Hydra, specifically Madam Hydra. Yes, Madam Hydra is higher ranked, and there's only one of her, but the payoff is much more significant. Comparing the destruction payoff alone, you get 2 temporary power versus 1 permanent power counter. Is that better? It depends, because it is temporary. However, Madam Hydra is triggered from a talent, which means that the temporary power will never be wasted, because you do it when you want to do so, and it doesn't have to even be the turn you play her. So in both cases, the power is permanent for the duration it is needed, and Madam Hydra pays out better. But what about the card draw? Red Skull can provide that. This does require an additional resource, but it's much more maintainable and sustainable. Of course, we also have to compare what minion is being destroyed, and here it is night and day. To evaluate the Hydra agent, I actually want to view it through the lens of a different play, the Big Drop. For vampires, that's Cull the Weak. Cull the Weak lets you discard minions from your hand for power, and is objectively the worst of these types of cards. For Cull the Weak to work, you need a few things. You need a minion to receive the power and the card itself, that's 2 resources. You also need discard fodder. Let's be generous and say that you have a hand of 9 minions and that you can easily chuck them all. That would be a 9 power increase. Hydra has a similar play that takes a different form. Cut off 1 head. Here, that card, which totally says cut off 1 head, takes the place of Cull the Weak, and instead of a minion to receive the power, we need a minion to sacrifice one of our 6 Hydra agents, which should not be a problem. In both cases, that's 2 cards needed, just needed in different ways. If cut off 1 head destroys a Hydra agent, 4 minions are played, so you need 4 instead of 9. This does require power 2 minions, but are you really dumping elites and leaders with Cull the Weak? If you played 4 minions, that's 8 power minus the 2 you lost, for a net gain of 6. But this costs significantly fewer cards, and also has the upside of the fact that those minions can be Arnim Zola. It's very easy to eclipse the 9 power of Cull the Weak, which, and I need to stress this, is really painful to use at 9 minions. And in the fact that cut off one head is a double feature, and the play becomes much more likely. There's also the fact that if you have a hand of 9 minions, what have you been doing all this time? Whereas cut off one head feels natural and easy. While Cull the Weak is almost always viewed as an endgame card, cut off one head is playable to break a base at any time. Of course, Vampire Tricksters only has one play, the drinking of gremlins, and it doesn't fully utilize its cards. You get the power counter of Drinker, the Gremlin effect, and maybe the Ancient Lord if you are lucky. You can't even get the count to trigger. But with Hydra, you have your choice of destruction benefit, like cards, power, or movement, and you get to immediately replace the minion you destroy, and you get Fanatical Devotion on top of that. And this to me highlights why antagonism can be really bad. Sometimes players get so focused on making the game painful for others that they forget there's a game to win, and Hydra wins games. They blow right past you, quickly swarming on a battlefield, which is a different kind of pain, a winning one. A lot of the Vampire and Trickster cards don't really mesh with each other and actively work against each other. I've often found it curious that Tricksters have Enshrouding Mist when they try to incentivize themselves to kill their own minions. Enshrouding Mist is certainly great, but when you are killing 4 of your minions, what minions are you playing with it? Yes, vampires can bring some of those minions back with Crack of Dusk, but that would only be to destroy them again, which isn't worth it. Hydra has a much more diverse toolset that allows a self-sacrifice faction to sustain itself, with searching for the initial minions and 2 forms of retrieval. What's left, aside from area control, is the Vampire Destruction, which is limited at best, and this is a hard point to make, because some players are so fascinated by destruction that they fail to see the bigger picture. In both cases, you are removing power from the board. In the Vampire case, it's usually localized and power 2. Heavy Drinker is global, but is objectively worse than moving a minion there. Big Gulp is the biggest standout, and a lot of factions could truthfully benefit from a single destruction card. But it's not like that card defines vampires. You can say that destroying someone else slows them down, but Hydra is saying that I don't need to slow you down because I can just play faster. That I can destroy myself instead of you and end up better is a really powerful statement because all the benefits are directly related towards positive effects rather than negative ones. For my final comparison, let's consider a 3-point optimistic best play. For Vampire Tricksters, I might play a Gremlin on turn 1 and a Trickster area control action. On turn 2, I focus on getting out the Ancient Lord. On turn 3, I play a Heavy Drinker to destroy the Gremlin, drawing a card, and getting 5 power. 6 if the Titan is there as well. For Hydra, turn 1 I play a Hydra agent and Fanatical Devotion. Turn 2, I might just play Hour of Destiny to get 2 Arnim Zolas. I don't know if I play a minion or not. Turn 3, I can cut off one head, playing 2 Hydra agents and 2 Zolas. The Zolas are each 5 for a base power of 14, plus 8 from Fanatical Devotion. That should break most bases, so I hope you discarded a really good card with Gremlin. It's extremely rare that 2 factions with different playstyles combine to form a combo that is completely overshadowed by a single faction, but it happened with Hydra. It does so with a streamlined focus on Swarm, despite having more tools with their minions and incentives to destroy. When you think about the types of cards that Gremlin wants, Hydra has them for their own minions, and it's just better overall when it comes to self-sacrificing. Do you agree with this video's premise? Can you think of any other combinations that are distinctly composed yet deprecated by a single newer faction? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.